Picture this. You stand in front of someone who once looked at you with fire, but now their eyes pass through you like your air. No anger, no hate, just emptiness. And in that silence, you feel it. Something broke. Not because of a fight, not because of a mistake, but because you stopped being a man who deserves to be taken seriously. Schopenhauer once said that the deepest pain doesn't come from hatred but from insignificance. Because if someone hates you, at least you still exist in their world. But when you become invisible, you've already disappeared. And that's where many men live today. Trying to earn back respect with words, with desperate gestures, with promises that mean nothing, without realizing that respect is never asked for. It's embodied. This video isn't about getting her back. It's about something far greater, the deep architecture of why some men are naturally respected, and why others spend their whole lives begging for a fraction of it. And let me warn you, what you're about to hear won't be comfortable, but if you can stand the truth without running from it, you'll understand why only one kind of man is ever truly respected. The discipline of self-control. There's a single moment that defines everything. Not when you smile, not when you speak, but when life pushes you without warning. When plans collapse, when someone challenges you, when you're ignored, provoked, or dismissed. That's when the world silently sees who you really are. It's not strength or intelligence that separates respected men from ordinary ones. It's inner stability. That calm that doesn't break when the world does. That quiet gravity that doesn't beg to be seen. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by war and betrayal, once wrote, "You can't control what happens. You can only control how you respond." That's the line that divides men. The weak react, the strong respond. One looks for someone to blame. The other adapts, thinks, and acts. When a man falls apart over something small, his voice cracks, his posture collapses, his mind scrambles for excuses, he's revealing the truth. He has no command over himself. And if you can't rule yourself in the small things, how will you stand when life truly tests you? She senses that instantly. She doesn't analyze it, she feels it. Her body knows before her mind does. This man isn't a refuge, he's another storm. But then, there's another kind of man. When the chaos hits, he breathes. He doesn't panic. He doesn't explode. He accepts what is, and from that calm, he acts. He isn't pretending to be strong. He's built his strength. Years of discipline, years of losing and learning. He's trained himself to witness anger without becoming it, to face fear without obeying it, to feel pain without letting it define him. That serenity isn't coldness, it's emotional mastery, and that mastery isn't learned overnight. It's the slow forging of a man who no longer needs control over the world, because he's learned to command himself. The shadow you refuse to face. Most men confuse control with suppression. They think being strong means feeling nothing, that real men don't cry, don't doubt, don't break. And so they build walls, tall, silent, and cold, until one day they realize those walls became their prison. That's not strength, that's fear wearing armor. Because the man who buries his fire will one day burn from the inside. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the hidden part of you that holds everything you've rejected. Anger, jealousy, pride, desire, ego, the hunger for control. Everything you deny gains power over you. And that's why so many men lose respect. Not because they're evil, but because they're at war with themselves. They pretend to be light while their darkness eats them alive. You can feel it in their words, in their passive aggression, their quiet resentment, their desperate need to prove something. Respect dies the moment you start performing strength instead of embodying it. The man who's respected isn't the one who hides his darkness. He's the one who integrates it. He channels his rage into discipline, turns envy into focus, turns his need for control into structure and purpose. Nietzsche called this the transmutation of values, transforming raw instinct into higher form. The same fire that burns can forge steel. The difference is what you choose to do with it. Because as long as you keep running from yourself, you'll keep chasing others to fill your emptiness. And no one, no woman, no relationship, no success can respect a man who's hollow inside. Respect is born from integration, from becoming whole, from holding both your chaos and your calm without falling apart. And once you reach that level of self-honesty, something in your presence changes. You no longer need to prove anything. You simply are. And in a world full of men pretending, the one who's real becomes unforgettable. The empty man who lives to please. Picture a man whose entire world revolves around one person. Every decision he makes, every move, every word, all designed to please, to avoid conflict, to be enough. Over time, he disappears, piece by piece, until nothing is left but a shadow of who he used to be. That man doesn't inspire love, he inspires exhaustion, because no one can respect a man who's abandoned himself. Philosopher Ortega y Gasset once said, "Man is himself and his circumstances." But many men shrink their entire world to fit inside one relationship. And when that relationship breaks, they collapse, because there's nothing else holding them up. Respect cannot exist where there is dependence, because respect requires freedom. And if your identity depends on being needed, you've already surrendered your power. A respected man doesn't need to prove his worth. He doesn't chase, beg, or convince. His life already has direction. He wakes up with purpose. He builds. He learns. He evolves, even when nobody's watching. And when she sees that, something shifts. She doesn't feel like she's completing someone broken. She feels like she's walking beside someone whole, and that changes everything. Because true respect doesn't come from need. It comes from choice. And choice only exists when you can stand alone. Spinoza said that real freedom is acting from your true nature, not from fear. The free man doesn't cling out of desperation. He chooses consciously. He loves from fullness, not from emptiness. And when you reach that point, you stop chasing validation, and you start inspiring it. Because no one can ignore the presence of a man who doesn't need to be accepted to know who he is. Character is what you do when no one's watching. Respect isn't born in grand moments, it's built quietly. In the invisible routines no one applauds, in the decisions that no one sees, in the promises you keep even when nobody remembers. That's where a man is measured. It's waking up when it would be easier to sleep in, finishing what you started even when you're tired, holding your ground when anger tempts you to explode, choosing integrity when convenience whispers otherwise. Aristotle called it hexis, the habit that shapes character. We are not what we occasionally do. We are what we consistently choose. And she feels it. She's not watching your moments of glory. She's watching your ordinary ones. The way you say no. The way you hold silence when it's uncomfortable, whether your calm is real or just a mask waiting to crack. Machiavelli wrote that power built on solid ground can survive any storm. Those foundations aren't money, looks, or clever words. They're the sacred rituals of a man's life. The things he does, whether he feels like it or not. When you have those rituals, those disciplines, those boundaries, you stop needing anyone's respect. Because you already respect yourself. And self-respect radiates. It commands attention without asking for it. But here's the trap. Firmness is not rigidity. Some men mistake stubbornness for strength and end up becoming unbearable. Real power is knowing when to stand firm and when to bend with grace. Heraclitus said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." Everything flows. Everything changes. The wise man knows this. He learns when to hold on and when to let go, when to speak and when to stay silent. That kind of awareness doesn't come from books. It's forged through living, falling, observing, and rising again. Because in the end, life doesn't respect the man who resists change. It respects the man who evolves without losing himself. And that man, balanced, disciplined, unshakable, never needs to demand respect. His presence is the demand. The courage to lose everything except yourself. Sometimes respect isn't lost because of what you did, but because you finally revealed who you are. for a while, you could hold the mask together. But eventually, it cracks. And what's left underneath is the truth you can't hide anymore. Jean-Paul Sartre called it bad faith, that quiet lie where you pretend you have no choice when, deep down, you always do. Every day you choose to act from fear or from conviction, to betray yourself or to honor yourself. A woman doesn't respect your words, she respects your choices, your consistency, your silence under pressure, your ability to stand by what you say even when it costs you. Respect dies in small moments. Every time you choose comfort over integrity, every time you bend out of fear, every time you trade your truth for approval. Respect isn't something you win, it's a reflection of who you've become. And once it's gone, you can't talk it back. You have to become someone new. Nietzsche spoke of the eternal return. The idea that you must live as if you'd repeat this exact life over and over for eternity. Could you say yes to that? Could you accept every choice, every silence, every mistake? That's the test of integrity, to live so honestly that you could relive your life endlessly without regret. Here's the paradox. Respect is born from renunciation. Only someone who could walk away can truly be respected, because respect requires freedom, and freedom always includes the power to leave. Kierkegaard called it the leap of faith, risking everything for what you believe is true. In love, that leap means the courage to lose, not because you want to, but because you refuse to lose yourself in the process. And when a man reaches that place, his energy changes. He no longer acts out of fear. He acts from truth. And that truth, that calm, fearless authenticity, is magnetic, because respect isn't the goal. It's the side effect of living with radical honesty, of integrating your shadow, of mastering your chaos, of becoming the kind of man who simply cannot be ignored. The respected man isn't the one who conquers others. He's the one who's conquered himself. And in that stillness, beyond approval, beyond fear, there's only one truth left. Strength isn't performed, it's lived. Respect isn't asked for, it's lived. Respect isn't earned with words. It isn't won through effort or manipulation. Respect is lived. It's in the way you walk, decide, breathe, even when no one is watching. And if someone once looked at you and no longer does, maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's the beginning of who you're meant to become. Don't chase to be seen. Become someone who can't be ignored. Because when your silence carries weight, you'll understand. You never needed respect. You became it. Now I want to leave you with one question. Do you have the courage to lose everything, except yourself? If this message spoke to you, write this in the comments. I don't break. I rebuild. Because that's the silent vow of every man who decides to awaken.